Okay, greetings. All right, so it's not 100%. Nothing's ever 100%. I'm not trying to be right about anything. But June 1st, we're coming up to um, a debt ceiling default, and it looks like that might actually happen. Now that might change between now and then, but but if they're not going to come to an agreement, it's going to be the Wild West. I think Social Security will still be paid out for a while, and but the government might, yeah, this might be the new normal. It's right now. There's talk of get ready for a default, which has never happened in the U.S., which can eventually lead to a bankruptcy of the U.S. Eventually, not yet. We're not there yet. But if you're not familiar with the default situation, I'm not trying to be Chicken Little here or anything, but I don't ever talk about this stuff. Not like this. They've had government shutdowns, but the default is basically like the government's credit card. They're trying to add more of a debt limit to it so they can spend more. But of course, there's government spending, there's a waste, contractors, the deep state, robbing the country. And I guess Biden or whatever Biden is, like some brainless creature, the puppet. Either way, who cares? But it looks like it could very well happen, which I can see it happening. Actually, the talk of it happening is very likely. And so, just the government can't pay its bills, basically, which they're looking for something. Nothing's happening right now. But so this could very well happen. And now it might, let's see, Friday, they probably won't come up with a deal. I could be wrong, but right now, it doesn't look like it might wait until the last day, that was it May 31st, which is a Wednesday. They might maybe last minute, talk about last minute, come up with something to make a deal so they can still pay their bills, and that's going to cause a lot of trouble anyway, pushing it that way. But it seems very likely of a default. I've never felt it so strong before. I followed this here and there in the past, but nothing like not strongly. Way in the past, remember? I think maybe it was 2011. I was kind of watching it, but this is kind of a big deal. I know the Galactic community could care less. It's too busy being off in the universe somewhere. And I know it sounds like fun, but reality does bite eventually. If this happens, talk about a wake up call. Yeah, contractors, these aerospace companies won't get paid. And if they really do the default, I would really do it. Like, do not like do not fix it the day out, like on June 1st. Don't do anything and just let it burn for a while. Man, the country's gonna hurt. Because the U.S. might do layoffs eventually. Government's bloated anyway, so it's one way of doing layoffs, massive ones. So it's possible. We had government shutdowns in the past. Even with Trump, he pushed it. I think it was during Bill Clinton's time that was like the longest one, but during Trump's, it was close to the longest one. I think. I don't remember, but this is worse because the government can't pay bills, and they'll pay like I don't know. It's just the vibe of it feels like it's very likely. And I don't know that any of the spiritual community can care less. They're living off in la la land, using their discernment by being screwed over, being manipulated. You have Enki with his lightsaber. You have Enki and what is it? The lightsaber lady and her book run of the Enki's romance novels. The Anunnaki romance section at Barnes and Noble. Oh, geez, sure, go for it. Well, there is Jesus and the Spaghetti Monster, so maybe it'll be right next to that. Yeah, Jesus fighting the Spaghetti Monster with machine guns. So maybe the Anki lightsaber, trilogy will be right next to that. I mean, obviously these things are real, but God, man, you can get really checked out. We're already seeing it already, but yeah, in the spiritual community make the religious community look like it's a walk in the park. But this is kind of a serious deal with the whole debt ceiling situation. It could happen. I've never felt the energy of it. I picked up like on Taiwan and war with that, and that kind of died down, which is good. That was way back. I mean, I really feel like this is a while back. It was last year, I think. Taiwan was really gearing up for an actual war, and then he had his propaganda recently, and nothing came of it, which is so. But this whole debt ceiling is kind of a big deal because you're going to see probably mass layoffs somewhere, depending on how far they go with it. So I imagine many are not thinking about this. It's like they could care less and talk about the background, but right now, the energy of it looks like it can possibly happen, and in a lot of ways, we probably need it to happen. So, I mean, it won't really. I mean, it's going to hurt government people. Uh, Probably the hardest. Of course, Social Security people might not get their checks, which is really going to get bad when that happens. And then other situations, like I don't know the whole story on it, but it's not good. so I don't know. They're already planning on it, and they're not making a deal on June 1st. So obviously, many don't care about it until it affects you. So they're like putting a warning out to say, by the way, this might affect you. So I guess if you have to come from cloud, wake up from cloud nine, this is one thing to do it. So, and this thing can go on for weeks. If they don't do this deal, they might fix it the next day. I doubt it. It can go on for weeks. It can literally go on for weeks, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And nothing's happening anywhere. I mean, obviously, they have the whole Ukraine thing, which has been pretty covered up. I don't even want to mention it here with that. So, we're going in some heavy territory. It might be diverted. It could easily be diverted. Who knows? It can happen at any time. For right now, it looks like it's going to happen. So yeah, maybe it'd be a wake up call for many. Yeah, you're out having a party, hang out with the secret space program, living in La La Land, and then bam, reality hits. So that's things can really get very strange. So who knows? Wake up calls are needed on all levels. And also John Lear at Area 51. For some reason this has been showing up. If you're not familiar with John Lear, he was one of the few that actually knew, he knew about this whole thing with, I can't remember his name now, about the whole Area 51, for that to become more mainstream. John Lear was in the behind the scenes of it. Let's see. So John Lear's is a fascinating one overall. It's like he's been in the know. Of course, you don't really have any proof physically, but then again, we kind of do have proof technically. They're just not talking about it currently. Let's see here. Yeah, Bob Lazar, John Lear. And Bob Lazar has always been a strange one, but they're not going to always. I mean, when you're kind of a deep state guy, which he kind of is, they're not. Nothing's going to make a whole lot of sense with all that. And it's aliens, anyways, a bunch of weird creatures walking around. Your mainstream world isn't ready for it, but it's like it's so bizarre. It's got to be real. There's got to be something out there, and it's why would they make it up? Why would they waste all their time with all this? So, what would be the point of it? For what? I mean, what would they get out of it? Like some kind of psyop for what? They don't want to talk about these government. They don't want these places known. They want to keep it all under wraps. Is that some kind of joke or something like that? So anyway, of course, you have your normal, everyday life, and it's just, it's like it's so bizarre, and it's got to be real. It's just, it's like the weird zone. Only so many can handle it. Like even for spiritual people, like they connect to the Greys, they're spooked out. Yeah, it looks like the Greys have been around the sun too long, which probably they have actually. When you do experiments on yourself and stuff like that, it's bound to go against you. And that's pretty much what happened to them to a certain level. It's different versions of it go on for that. But anyway, John Lear is one of the hardcore alien. This of course is not here anymore, but if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't know about Area 51 and any of this stuff. So love it or hate it. It's kind of a mythology a little bit, but it's like the detailed knowledge they have about it. It's like, come on, it's just got to be there's got to be some truth to it out there somewhere. What would be the purpose of just pulling it out? Just obviously those that are very new age, I don't think some of them can handle it. So they try everything they can to shut it down to some level. Obviously, don't see any proof of it. Old green men walking around, all that. Of course, there has been some proof here and there. It's just there has been video footage of like Skinny Bob, the Gray. So it's just it's not great footage, but even if you did see your real footage, probably people would be scared of it. Or we'll see how things go. Also, Sirius, the dog star, kind of do something a little bit more grounded compared to everything else I'm talking about, especially the whole debt ceiling energy, which, the spiritual community is going to have a wake up call eventually, too. I mean, reality has to come in eventually. When you're zooming off to the higher dimensions and this whole DeSantis running for president, and he is kind of like a company man, so that's going to be interesting to see where that goes because he's part of the system. And who knows? It's just we're going to strange times. But this whole debt ceiling thing is going to kick off all kinds of nonsense if it ever happens. And they're kind of giving us like the storm is coming. But is anybody paying attention? Some people are paying attention. It might be nothing. It could easily be diverted and we just go off back into our zombie state of mind. Or it can happen and it's time for a wake-up call. So yeah, I remember the whole thing. This is recently with the Silicon Bank, and that had I remember seeing that in the news and ignoring it. It's like, oh great. And then it blew up. So and then it's all gone quiet recently, and everyone's talking about it's going to get worse, and everything's been pretty quiet there. I didn't have it 2008, which we probably could have. It might have even been worse, but they were more prepared for it this time. I don't think they want that to happen, but this can happen. No, this is probably worse in a lot of ways. So I don't know. Just open up the eyes. It's going to be. But yeah, the government can't pay its bills, and at first they'll be okay, sort of, not great. Stock market's not going to do so good. But as if it goes into a couple weeks, it's going to get uglier and uglier. It doesn't mean the country's going to go down. It doesn't mean the country will go bankrupt. Not that won't happen one day. Probably in our lifetime, but maybe 30 or 40 years from now. We're not quite there yet, obviously. I can see it happen, though. The U.S. is just, it's being looted. It's being robbed, looted, everything. Anyway, we're on that timeline. So, but anyway, not to gloom and doom it, not to chicken little anything. We'll just have to wait and see what this happens. I know many are like prepared with restorable foods and their massive machine guns and all that. I don't know if you need that for this. I'm not sure. No. And this might also be to really kill the Democratic Party. Of course, it's not going to make the Republican Party look so great either. So we'll see. I don't know. We need some kind of wake up call. That's for sure. It's getting kind of lost out there. At least we got Anki and his romance novels out there with his lightsaber. Maybe he'll save everybody. Or maybe not. So anyways, I'm.com. Private sessions. We have the shop here. We have the webinar tomorrow's social network. Behind the scenes and the archive. I'll pull stuff from ET Origins eventually this time. I'm not sure if any of this stuff. Well, the narcissism one went on for a while. That was the subject matter I was put in through the ET Origins. Kind of took that and took it to a whole new level. We have Anki with his lightsaber and his romance novel lineup right next to Jesus and his fighting spaghetti monster. So yeah, we're doing well here. So all right, we're going to debt ceiling, government energies. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. There is a deep state frequency there, obviously. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. This might be a trickle event. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Finally, something happens. Who knows? Our minds can create all kinds of crazy scenarios. That's probably a lot more interesting in reality. I'm still waiting for Biden's head to open up, little cockroaches controlling his brain. I want to see that one. Oh well, maybe some other reality. Okay, so we're going to government, the deep state energies, John Lear's frequency, or the Area 51, the disclosure energy. This is all leading up to some kind of disclosure eventually. When's another maybe 100 years from now? Who knows? I don't know. It's really ramping up. The talk of it's out there quite a bit, so you never know. Well, let's just kill the U.S. and then maybe we'll have disclosure. Who knows? We'll see. And also Sirius, the dog star, the canine energies from Sirius. So, all right, blessings. Greens, this is higher consciousness of your government. Of course, believe whatever you want to believe. Many are not wanting the truth, but there are agendas that don't want to always reveal themselves for obvious reasons or hidden timelines. Some of you might be able to see the future or see the current reality and feel like there's a hidden timeline that won't show itself, but you might feel like a financial energy. They're trying to mix things up so you can't see the future too clearly. Those that can see the future, depending on who they are kind of agents of society, of the program here. They need somebody to tell you what's going to happen, even if you believe them or not. So they have to link out some kind of truth as the whole thing comes down. As for the government ceiling situation, there's a lot of trickster beings there. We're not going to say it's going to happen or not, but there is an energy of basically changing your reality altogether. It's going to happen eventually. Is this the event of that? It's highly possible, yes. So this is the warm-up for a change. Doesn't mean it's going to change your lives dramatically. Some it will for sure. There is a lot of zombie energies. A lot of humans have pretty much let go of their own mindset, just kind of went into reverse or neutral. A lot of them going actually reverse, or they're not growing at all. And so you have certain stage events to kind of wake them up, let them make a decision. Can you handle this world or not? Are you going to stay or go like you already saw in 2020? Many just chose to go because they can't handle this place. And some of you are here to bring in this change. You might feel it vibrationally. It's like, yeah, the tides are coming in and this is probably going to hurt. Maybe not for everybody. Yes, some of you will get effects, but others are truly going to have the wake-up call. Doesn't mean there's going to be World War III. And that's another wake-up call, but no, that one's been kind of, no, not, you're not at that level yet. It can happen. It doesn't have to happen. That's when the world is like truly just, it's not going anywhere. It's like humanity truly just lost faith in itself. You have that still. So you might hear about it, but it's probably not going to happen. You might feel some tremors of it from other realities. You might feel possibilities of it and so on. But it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean, sometimes just the idea, the word of it is going to just drive people insane. That'll be enough. It's like, okay, I got it. It doesn't have to happen here. But there doesn't mean there's not going to be stage events like your 2020 or no, your 1929. The Great Depression was staged, as some of you are aware. Even your Titanic was technically staged. So they got lucky on that one. Let's put it that way. So not to say everything's staged, but quite a bit is staged. Of course, astrally, everything is staged. And some of you, like I said, are involved with it. You'd be surprised how many of you astrally are involved with a great deal of what happened. You might not want to have your name on it either, but it's there. Yeah, tragic events, especially in your U.S. And the U.S. is going through a wake-up call. It's very connected to the Old West, and the Old West is not quite. It's like the modern Old West, and it's modernized. It's uglier than the old. Of course, the Old West is pretty bad as it was. You just don't have newspapers broadcasting all the physical abuse that was going on. Of course, in Europe, Middle Ages and all that went through their own little hell as it is. So they've just finally got out of their system. The U.S. is still a youngster, so it's going through its own dark age, its own middle age. Just now you have more publicity about it. So where things are heading, like I say, we don't want to say it's going to happen or not. I'll let you decide on that one. But there is change that's necessary here. And it's up to those. So some of you are becoming more aware of it, can prepare for it mentally, while others are just completely checked out. And maybe that's where they live best. So it's a wake-up call for some of you to see others that just cannot handle reality. They just completely disconnect from it. And that's where it hurts the most. So when it starts to hit. Greetings. You got a consciousness of your alien disclosure energies. And yes, it's been a tough one. It hasn't been, the disclosure that some of you are looking for. But it doesn't mean it's not in its works. It is. The aliens themselves are preparing mentally for this. As the time will come eventually, yes. In your lifetime, it's a possibility, yes. Not through your government and all this nonsense. The government's not that powerful. They can't stop everything. A lot of them are such an ignorant energy. Even those of the high power are so ignorant, and they know that. They know they got lucky in their positions. Yeah, even with their own gullibility, they got those positions, thinking that they have power. So your deep state has a lot of vulnerabilities itself, also. And you can say what Area 51 becoming known kind of showed how flawed your government is. Yes, it's keeping a lot hidden. Currently, it's being helped also by the astral, why there's such a blackout. It's just it's not time yet. Once disclosure starts to really rip into your reality, it's kind of like the calm before the storm, but this calm for the storm might be a very long time. But many of you are working astrally to bring it more into your physical reality. How you to do this, it might take generations for it to actually occur. But it doesn't mean in your own lifetime you won't see something. If you truly need it to happen in your reality, whatever it might be. Everyone's different. Obviously, not everybody needs an alien experience, but some of you are here to bring the alien frequencies in some form or another. But basically, it's kind of like opening up the hood of this world of reality for humans to really start finding themselves. Yes, it might be painful to open those eyes. And yes, as some of you know, the aliens, some of you can handle all types of alien beings, the pretty ones, the ugly ones, the bizarre ones, but your numbers are few compared to those that can't handle like a wizard being. Most cannot handle that, digest the idea of that. Some of you just can't wait to see it. Others are just terrified. It doesn't fit their GQ point of view. So greetings. We are Sirius, the dog star, the canine frequencies, send you all energies. Yes, the Syrian beings that do get channeled, sometimes they can be a little bit overly positive. They might be almost like a almost like a spiritual dictator to some level. A little bit to even themselves, a little delusional themselves. And these are the alien beings. They can be a little bit high on their own energy, high on their own words, and lost as just as lost as any type of church minister. So the aliens are not perfect. Of course, they have to keep their vibrations up when they connect to a world like yours. So, and even some Arcturian beings are kind of, it's not all of them are being channeled are Arcturian beings. I might be saying that they are, but usually Arcturians are not that ignorant. But some usually Arcturian beings don't talk down to people. Some might, but some connect. So some people do create their own group of like Arcturians or Syrians. Of course, they don't see it here physically, but they create their own group to like say what they want them to say. And then, there's some control energies there. So basically, there's a lot of also Syrian beings that will basically, like for alien disclosure, yes, it's going to take some time, of course. Many are very extremely impatient. They don't want to heal themselves. They don't want to look at themselves. They want the aliens to show up and just be done with it. But even the alien beings say, we would appear, but you still have to do some stuff. So there's that. If the alien energy can show up and actually help you grow, so if you even reject the idea of growth, they're not going to show up. If you say, okay, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to improve, then your chances of alien connection, wherever it might be, can improve for sure. Of course, you can also get the ones that aren't very friendly, but for the most part, you bring in a friendly energy. It's just, I want to improve, and it just takes time. But that says a lot because you're opening up a gateway for you to literally improve vibrationally on a higher level. And it can bring in some of course, it's going to be more of a fourth dimension connection, not necessarily a physical connection sometimes, but you feel the fourth dimensional frequency, which can, if it absolutely needs to. I mean, a lot of alien beings are actually scared of your world. To be honest, they're terrified of your planet. Yeah, I mean, the alien beings, they show up, some of them, and they appear here physically, be so scared of humans, and they won't be able to connect to their abilities as they used to. Even those that are, mentally preparing for this, like a military, not all of them are really ready for this planet. So you'd be surprised. I mean, some of you are scared and you're just here. You see how the human race is like, oh, you're even afraid of the human race to a certain level, those that are crazy. So, and it's The alien beings here are, some of them are very fragile, and it's just the way it is. And if you become like a hardcore alien, you turn into a reptilian being, or I mean, yes, it's possible. I mean, there are humans. Yeah, of course, there's human beings, alien beings that have reptilian in them, Palladian, Sirian, whatever it might be, to help them be hardcore to handle your Earth's environment. Not just the third dimension frequency; it's the human energies. Can we protect ourselves energy wise and handle it? It's like they have to be kind of like a black ops group. Kind of like that. Like they have to be ready for everything. And yes, some of them might be able to get corrupt because they see the vibrations. Yes, and they can get angry too very easily, depending on the beings. So you're about alien beings that are going to be love and light and all that. That's true, but a lot of them are weak energies too. They're not the strongest. So, and they know that. Now they're harder to make angry. They're harder for them to become angry, but they can be themselves delusional. Just because they're alien beings doesn't mean that they don't have their own little fantasy world they live in. I mean, how do you think they keep their frequency the way it is? They live in a, well, of course they do feel those realms. They actually live their fantasies. Some of you do that here physically, but maybe not always living the fantasy physically. But them as alien energies do live it because they're just frequency beings. So you just have a lot to gather. As for alien disclosure here on your world, it's, some of you are working towards it. You might not be thinking about it too much, but you are helping it to bring important. The idea is for physical contact. Yes, you are working on it, but you don't have to think about it all day. You don't have to think about it. But some of you might feel like you're actually involved with it in some form or another. It's like, yeah, I'm involved with it, but let's not talk about it for a while because it's not going to go very far if you try to dig into it. Because we can't tell you this, we can't tell you that, but we're working on it. We'll talk to you in 5 years or something like that. Or sooner. They're not going to say anything there. Your government energy, once again, is not that powerful. It might feel intimidating, but there's another way why the things are not being made public.